Okay, hi everyone, welcome back, and in this update we are going to check out Hedera's price chart, and I'm going to tell you why in the short term I am overall seeing some very much optimistic signs, and what we talked about in the previous videos basically is playing out at the moment. But before we get into all that, we are going to at first talk about what is going on in terms of long-term structures, and in my field of work specifically Elliott Wave. You see, in my opinion, the long-term view in Hedera is absolutely bullish. Why? Because from this point to about this high in this bull run back in 2025, I think we had a clear cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up into a larger degree wave 1, followed by a correction for wave 2, and from here moving forward we are probably having the sub waves for this huge wave 3. And for example, I can tell you, if I just zoom in more, okay, this is a very strong move up into one, correction for wave 2, and hopefully right now we are on our way up to complete the sub waves for a big wave 3, correction for 4, another move up into wave 5, and at that point this yellow 5 wave up is going to be into a wave 3, correction for 4, another move up into wave 5, which on a higher degree is going to be, yeah, okay, sure, into this wave 3, and then correction for 4, another move up into wave 5. Nonetheless, here is what I'm trying to tell you. In HBAR, it seems like that our bull run is simply far from over, and I'm really having a hard time believing that Hedera is going to, in this alt season, instead of having a magnificent move up, just go down and set new lows. I think that is definitely not the case, or let me just say this as this: it shouldn't really be anybody's primary case based on the signs that we are seeing currently in terms of Elliott Wave. So overall, we are 1000% bullish, and I do believe on yet another beautiful phase of the bull run. Do not get that twisted. However, what is going on in the short term? Okay, that can be a bit up for debate. Scenario number 1 suggests that maybe this is an A, B, C flat to about this point, and it means what? Yep, the final low is already here. Now, in the interest of being objective, at any given moment, any analyst, in my opinion, should be able to come up with a bullish and also a bearish count at the same time, and basically take every single thing step by step, and based on them be able to figure out which scenario is going to be their primary ones. And for now, based on what I'm seeing, at least it seems like that this bullish count suggesting this is actually the low of our correction is going to be my primary case. But according to the bearish count, okay, this suggests we are having an ABC flat, sure, but on a higher degree it's actually into a wave W, followed by that this move up is a corrective movement into wave X. And what's going to be next if this count is going to happen? Okay, we are going to have yet another move down into wave Y. However, I need you to remember, if that scenario is going to play out on a higher degree and overall, this is still 5 wave up, a beautiful one into a wave 1, and this whole move is a correction for wave 2, which means what? Yep, you guessed it right. The next move is going to be still a big one up into wave 3 and 4 and 5. So essentially you are having two different counts, but on the other hand, basically the same conclusion, meaning this is overall one way or the other a beautiful buy opportunity for you in case you don't really care about the short-term price action, and for example, it's not really your concern what is going to happen in the next couple of weeks. Now, if you do care about the short-term price action, okay, now let's go on 15-minute time frame and see what is going on. And if you remember, the last time that we talked about Hedera, we were, I think, right in here, and the idea was that it seems like we are having in this phase a correction structure on the downside, and I am really hoping that this is going to be a series of 1-2s, meaning I said this can be a wave 1, correction for wave 2, and what's next? A strong move up into wave 3, 4, 5, which on a higher degree it's gonna be into a wave 3 even, and then correction for 4, another move into wave 5. And this scenario suggested back then that our move up in Hedera, if we want to go according to this count, needs to actually accelerate quite a bit. And I am actually still thinking this scenario is happening, and here is why. Let's zoom in a bit more and see what is going on. And in my view, there's actually a chance that we have already completed a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave impulsive structure. Now, here's the situation. Having a 5 wave is a very optimistic sign, suggesting the low of our correction most likely is already here. But this doesn't necessarily mean that from here we're going to get a straight move up in order to set new highs. No. In fact, I would like to say maybe soon in Hedera, we should expect some sort of a move on the downside. Why? Okay, here's a question for you. What happens after a 5-wave up, even if you want to go according to the most bullish scenario? You know the answer. We are going to have a move on the downside, and this is actually going to be my primary case in like very short term. I think we are going to have a move down, but two things are going to happen in that phase. Number one, we are not most likely going to take this low down here about, let's say, 24.5 cents. And number two, in terms of characteristic of the move down that we may get, it's actually going to be quite slow and choppy, meaning what? Yes, we are having probably a correction in here. And okay, on a higher degree, I believe we may have yet another 1 and a 2. And what's next? Probably a very strong move up into wave 3 and 4 and 5. For now, I would like to keep this thing as my primary case, suggesting sure, we may go down a little bit, but then after that, we are going to have a very good and strong move on the upside. Now, here's a question. Let's just do this. Okay. Can I say that maybe starting from this point, this is 1, this is 2, and then 3, 4, 5 wave up, and now it's actually time for a correction down, sure, but that is actually going to be like a deep move on the downside in order to not only take this low, but maybe even go quite a bit lower than that in order to visit these levels once more, about the 22.5 to 20 cents area. Well, let's just check those. First things first. Excuse me, what just happened? Let's go around here. You see, if you want to argue that we are going to have our final low around here, maybe this is like a very important support, then okay, you need to be able to find off of the lowest low, then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This specific example is called an impulse. Rules for it are, we should not have overlapping of the waves between wave 2 and 4, and in any kind of 5 wave, wave 3 should not be the smallest wave. Now, sometimes we can have other sorts of 5 waves, and for example, you can have something called a leading diagonal in form of a wedge, and in it, this is going to be our wave 1, and it must be the biggest wave. Correction for wave 2, another move up into wave 3. It has to be smaller than 1. Correction for 4. In here, unlike this normal 5 wave, this impulse, we must have, again, pay attention, we must have overlapping of the waves, and at the same time, wave 4 has to be smaller than wave 2, and this is our final move up into wave 5, which has to be the smallest wave in this structure. And let's just draw the lines. Okay, now you can see why we call this pattern a wedge structure. Also, we can have another pattern called an expanding leading diagonal, which is basically the opposite of this thing, meaning this is a wave 1, it must be this time the smallest wave. Correction for wave 2, a strong move up into wave 3 has to be bigger than 1. Correction for 4, we still need to have overlapping of the waves, but this time wave 4 must be bigger than wave 2, and this is our final move up into wave 5, which has to be the biggest wave. Now let's go on the live chart and check out different counts. And first things first, as you can see, if you want to say this is a complete 5 wave, since in here we are clearly having overlapping of the waves between our supposedly wave 4 and 2, okay, this falls into the category of either a wedge or maybe an expanding leading diagonal. And now it's time to measure some waves, and in order to do that, at first you need to put your chart on regular scale. Okay, I'm gonna keep saying this in every single video. There is simply no measuring waves or targets on logarithmic scale. It's very important to understand that. And then let's measure our wave 3 and compare it to our wave 1. Is it bigger than wave 1? The answer is yes. So this narrows our option basically to only and only an expanding leading diagonal. Now, question is though, is wave 3 smaller than wave 5 in case we want to have an expanding leading diagonal? The answer is surprisingly no. So this means basically this is not here nor there, meaning we really cannot consider this move up as some sort of a diagonal, and neither also an impulsive structure. And if we get, pay attention, a move down, and in that move we take this important low, at that point in Hedera we need to actually consider this move continuing for quite a bit in order to unfortunately take the lowest low down here about 22.5 cents. Why? Because taking this low is going to be sort of the bearish confirmation, suggesting, you know what, instead of an impulse or maybe generally some sort of a 5 wave, this is just a correction structure and our move down is simply not over yet. So This point, in my view, can be a very, very important invalidation point for any kind of bullish scenario in HBAR that we are allowed to consider. But as long as we are not taking the loss, I think we shouldn't really be talking about the bearish possibilities right now. Let's wait for a move on the downside, maybe ABC, maybe WXY, and then expect a very strong continuation of the uptrend. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in HBAR. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent TA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.